Okay, so I was talking and on mute this entire time.
Yeah.
No one was gonna say nothing.
I thought it was my audio messing up.
um, Happy What We Watch Wednesday. Let me re-intro. We are on YouTube. Miss Peacherino presents What We Watch, or just What We Watch, and we're back. Severance season 2, episode 3. I want to be very honest about a thing. This is my favorite episode of the season so far. We now have 3 episodes. What do you think, Teach?
I'm still partial to the first episode, but this is a very good episode.
Okay. I think um, any episodes are very exciting. I think my favorite characters are all the any versions of everyone, although I do enjoy Marquez's Audi character. But let's jump right into it because it is an exciting Wednesday. It's the Wednesday before the Super Bowl. And like I said, the season finale of Severance season 1 had me screaming like it was a Super Bowl. So I plan on doing the same thing this weekend. Um, but let's talk about it. So I want to go through the outline today because, part of the amazing thing about this show is that we can go character, bar for bar on each of them and just really address everything happening in the show because it's very like centered around what's happening and the grief and how they are trying to overcome. So, Tej, do you have the outline in front of us? It's just so that everyone
Yeah.
knows. So, go ahead. So, what are we starting with on this outline? Just so everybody knows. Who are we
It looks
starting
like
with?
we're starting with Kobelvig in our outline. That's the first thing in the outline.
Okay, perfect. Let's talk about Miss Kobelvig. And y'all, don't be shy. Come on up. Me and Tej can pod all day, but we want to hear from you as well. So, Tej, how did you feel about the opening scene of this episode with Miss Kobelvig?
This was first of all, it made me think of Fargo. Anyone who's ever seen the movie Fargo, she's out there in the snow on the road. It looks like has fallen asleep in her car, like she's going somewhere, and she just kind of fell asleep. First of all, my first thought was, wait, can she not afford in a hotel? Like she's been working at Lumen for a long time. Like, is she out of money? Like, why is she not staying at a hotel? And then the song choice is just not a song you would typically think that you're gonna hear over a Miss Kobelvik scene. Like that's not that's not a song choice you would expect. But I found it very interesting and I was like, I wonder where she's going. And then of course we see her hit the Yui and turn around and we know that she's gonna go back to Lumen despite the fact that we're seeing her leave Lumen. We always knew that she was gonna come back, maybe not immediately, but we knew that she can't stay away from Lumen.
Yeah, man. Last episode, I was like, look, don't let this story fall flat. She is a key character. I want her to turn up. So we got a literal U-turn, and she turned up, and she got that meeting with Helly at the end. But we'll get to there because that's more of like under the Helly part of the outline. But for me, the scene with Miss Kobelvig felt like such a funny name. It felt like um, unreal. It felt very surreal. A lot of these shots when they're in their cars or they're going to a diner or they're going to their house, it doesn't feel like a real world. And I don't say that in the sense that, like, obviously there are places in the world that look like this, but the kind of like, what is the term? Conformity in all of it is just not really that common in my travels. So it's just like everybody got the same kind of car, like with the same like 5 to 10 years. It seems like there's just vast like stretches of land with no or stretches of road with no gas station. Like everyone seems very like disconnected, like they're in some sort of simulation. And even like when she's driving out, like what makes you get on the side of the road and go to bed? Like you can't go to a hotel? Are they tracking you? Like a 18 wheeler goes by and wakes you up? Like that's your life right now? Like ain't no AAA. Like there's no hotel. There's no gas station, rest stop. Like what? Like where are you dropping us in this simulation? It just feels like one of my theories that I've workshopped a little bit is that there are 3 versions or more of all of these characters, and we've been introduced to 2 because that little export hallway thing, we'll get to it, but that's my thing. I'm like, this just doesn't feel like a real world. Like what time period and where are we? Like, Tej, did you like what year is it and where are we with Lumen's reign in across 283 countries? Like,
You
what's happening?
you definitely make a very good point. It's kind of like against we are never in a quite in a time. There's nothing that truly indicates, what time period we're in or where we are. I think we know for sure that we're not in the United States, despite the fact that it may look like it. So they kind of do a really good job of taking you out of time and space that you would be accustomed to, and so it kind of gives another layer of kind of strangeness of everything. Kind of, it kind of gives another sheen of like this reality, excuse me, is so different than our own, which I
Yeah.
think serves the show very well.
Yeah, there's a concept that I learned about a very, very long time ago, and it's a non-place. And if you don't, just look up what a non-place is. And I've read a little bit about it, and it's almost like a contextual kind of feeling of being in a place, but like an example of a non-place is like an empty mall or an empty airport where there's like the places serve as a function, but when the function isn't there, is it still an airport if nobody's traveling through it? And so I feel like Severance embodies that kind of non-place when we're traveling with these people's Audis. It's like, what is there any purpose here? Like, are you at the diner to eat? Are you at the diner to talk to your sister? You could have done that at home, but like, so yeah. So that's where I'm at with it. But Miss Kobelvig comes up later. So let's talk about the next thing on our outline, because let's just go character for character, bar for bar. This is my favorite part of the outline. Who's next, TJ? Uh-oh,
Next is Mr. Milch.
right. And we're not even going to hesitate because you said what you needed to say, right? And we can't talk about Mr. Milchick without talking about Natalie. What's going on with Natalie? Natalie is also black. Mr. Milchick is also black. Let's just call it what it is. It's giving
And
sunken
so is
place.
Kier. If in certain artworks, Kier is also black.
In certain artworks, this person's skin color changes. What if you were gifted the white version of you to use at work?
I would quit.
We just wanted to honor you. I did a
Mr.
podcast.
Milchek did not like that shit, by the way. Did you see his face? He was not feeling that shit.
He was not feeling it, and we're gonna get to that, right? Because I just want to shout out real quick to Slice of Horror on YouTube. We did a really, really profound and really fun review, Slice of Horror and what we watched. Thank you for having me. I'll probably be back on the show. But we kind of talked about what needed to be talked about, and this is Get Out. That scene was Get Out. That scene was her saying, the board says, and like her face is literally like Mr. Milchick's face the entire season one. It's like, eh, get out. Or like, this is not like we're struggling here. And I think there was a synergy because you can't gift me the black version of the founder. We know he's not black. You can't gift me that and then expect me to be normal. And so if you're another fellow like black person giving me that, y'all are both just being quiet about the real thing that's happening, which is also so real in the workplace, right? Teach like two black people in corporate America experiencing this kind of like stereotypical attempt to like comfort the person for being not a part of, the racial history or the ethnic makeup of the founders. Like it's very, very weird. And both of them were uncomfortable. And but Natalie represented like the one that's kind of like too far gone. And Mr. Milchick was kind of like challenging, like this isn't cool. So I already know they're trying to take me down the sympathy path, but I already told y'all it's gonna take a lot for me to have sympathy for Mr. Milchick. How did you feel about that scene, Teach?
Well, I definitely got the Get Out vibes as soon as the scene kind of started. I can't wait, not wait to learn more about Natalie. And there are obviously theories about the board, whether the board is like a sentient being or not, whether the board is something. It kind of felt like Natalie had a passenger, like somebody was driving at that time, and she was just the vehicle to deliver that message. So the board it was like literally inside her, and so that obviously adds to the creepiness of the scene. First of all, great performance by Natalie.
Fantastic.
Um, and I love that we're now getting, as you get a new season of a show, you kind of open up the world. We didn't get a lot of this stuff with Mr. Milchick in terms of how he feels about his bosses or how he feels about the company, right? We only uh for the most part hung out with Milchick in relation to our MDR NEs. So now we're seeing Milchick and how what he thinks about his own job and within the company at the same time knowing that Miss Kobelvig is trying to take his job. So just kind of that whole interaction with Natalie and them both being black and having a black person deliver this gift to Mr. Milchick, I just thought it was an awesome scene. And the way that she kind of gives the smile at the end, like it's just like so creepy and just
Yeah.
so good. And I just can't wait to see where they take that storyline.
It was a help. Again, it was the get out scene where she's like, no, 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 no. Like that was her to me. It was a simultaneous smile, which like shout out to the type of acting it requires for the two kind of creepy people that give that get out creepiness vibe to say and be in that room together and kind of just smile back and forth about a thing that they have no control over, right? And I think that what you're saying, Teach, is interesting about Mr. Milchick because even though we didn't get to sit with how he felt about work, I don't know about you, but I was able to ascertain and assume. I'm like, I hate this man. This man loves his job and is terrible to everyone, right? But we're getting more of the backstory with him for sure. But I've already decided who he is, and I think the show writers and the runners are so like aware that Mr. Milchick is not trustworthy. He be lying, and we're going to peel all of that back. We're going to poke at all of those like antennas you have up with this man, and we're going to show you that there's like another level. Like there's a ventriloquist here. And I already see it coming, and I'm like, all right. But I just don't. Mr. Milchick could have gotten out a long time ago. And I just know them type of people. I know them type of middle managers. And I'm like, you could have been a little bit better to everyone. I don't know how long you've been doing this. I don't know how long Lumen's been around. So, anything else we should talk about with Mr. Milchick? Because he went from season 2 delivering pineapples to people's houses and like lying to them about their innies to this episode. Oh, now we got a little sympathy. Is it working for you, Teach?
It is, and what I like the most is that we're setting up obviously some kind of interaction between Miss Cobell and Mr. Milchick.
That's gonna be fire.
If to zoom out a bit, obviously the people who become middle management in a company are the people who really dedicate themselves to the job and believe in the mission of whatever organization they work for. And that's obviously a big part of the show. And we hear later on, we hear Miss Kovelbig tell Helena that Mr. Milchick can't do it. Like
He's not capable.
he is not capable of executing what you previously tasked me with executing. He's
Right.
not capable. And so getting that kind of putting those scenes side by side, he is obviously struggling with things at the company. He doesn't like that her name was on the monitor, and now he's kind of struggling with like the board is being weird and they gave me this weird gift and where do I fit in this company at the same time where he's
Yes.
being directly challenged on the outside. And it's just they're doing a good job of kind of planting those seeds of him having maybe a I don't think he's having a moral dilemma. I think he's having a dilemma more about where he fits within the company. I think it's been interesting.
Yeah, he this character embodies everything that this show is. Mr. Milchick is Severance, and he's an unsevered character. He is the sci-fi, he is the creepiness, he is the challenging of like what it means to have a purpose in the workplace. He is the one that like honors how human beings do desire a sense of power over others, simultaneously wanting a sense of power over themselves, and how they balance those things, right? Like he is the show to me. And but like I cannot stand this man. I have no recency bias. I know what this man been doing this whole time, but it's going to be cool. Like I'm there for the ride. That's why I'm committing to the hate, because I know once they try to drop the bombs on us and they try to let us know that it's between Mr. Milchick and Mrs. Cabell, who Mr. Milchick can't do his job, I know that scene is going to go crazy. I already know. Because right now, there's the question. Mr. Cabell, Mrs. Cabell, and Mr. Milchick. They want the exact same position. So think about it as an interview. They're both getting interviewed, but one already has the job, one already got fired from it. So like there's points of, confidence. There's points of like trying to perform, overperform while you're at work. There's points of like just all of this stuff between these two. And we see both of them kind of, struggling with what's next for them. And I think that's where we're going with Mr. Milchick too. So you're right about that. Like where do I fit in this company? Like he can't even really focus on moving up, which is what season 1 was for him. He's like, I don't even know, like, what am I doing here? Like, am I doing a good job with what I was tasked and promoted to do? So yeah. What's next on our list? Oh, I'm sorry. I want to welcome Chocolate Graham. Did you have something to say about Mr. Milchick and Miss Cabell?
Yes, I did. I wanted to say that Mr. Milchick is Dwight Schrute from The Office.
Wait, why do you say that?
I think there's that awkwardness about him, and he doesn't know how to work with his now employees. Like that personal side that separates him from like Michael Scott or even Miss Cobell is that he doesn't care about them. And so, particularly in this season, I think that really impacts how they relate to him, or even how the MDR group rebels against him. It's
Mm,
like we're trying to make your life a living hell,
I
while
like
also pursuing our own interests.
reverse that, right? Like, okay, let's talk about Mr. Milchick, not through his lens, but how other people experience him and respond to him and treat him. Yeah, I didn't think about that because I don't like him, so I didn't care. I'm like, whatever. All of you are justified. But yeah, that's a good point. Teach, what do you think?
I like the comparison, especially given the more zany parts of Mr. Milchick's character
Yeah.
that we've seen. I like that.
Who's next on the docket?
It says Helly, but really it's Helena because we didn't see a lot of Helly in this episode. I guess we did see Helly in this episode, but Helena is not.
Did we see Helly in this episode?
Yeah, when they went to the with the sheep. Well, no, I don't think that's Helly. So you're right. We haven't seen Helly all season. If you ask me, we haven't
Period.
seen
Okay.
Helly.
Period. We saw Helena walking through that really cool scene in whatever floor she was on in the hallway. Amazing scene. We saw Helena uh, stare at Mark very awkwardly. Helly wouldn't have done that. So we're all still on the this is Helena train. We're not off of that, TJ.
No,
Chocolate Graham.
I think it's definitely Helena, and I think that there's like this awkward moment she has with Mark is her. You can see that Helena is longing for like a physical intimacy
Exactly.
that Helena is obviously not getting on the outside, although we don't know a lot about that part of Helena's life. Her
Correct.
reaction to seeing them kiss, and then that moment where they're having that awkward moment where they might kiss, might not. You could tell she's longing for that, but you could
Correct.
tell again that it's not her because Helly wouldn't have been such an awkward moment for her, and I think that's very important because I think we're kind of setting up for like love cannot be severed. Like you lose certain memories, but we already know there are certain things like that that you retain. For example, like how to drive a car. There's certain things that the show has shown us that survive the severance process, and I think they're kind of setting up that love has some kind of power that like you don't lose that love, and all the characters are acting out of love in different ways. You're seeing Irv's whole character has been acting out of love. Mark is obviously acting out of love for his wife. What's his face?
Dylan.
Dylan is obviously acting out of love to the fact where he's literally trading or at least being evasive and hiding things from the MDR team because he wants the chance to meet his family. And obviously, we get to see him meet his wife and talk about his kids in this episode. So I think the power of love is going to be something that's has been central to the show and going to continue to be central to unlocking the mysteries of the show.
And can you please tell me what we watched, Pillar number 1?
Everything is a romance.
Period. Everything is a romance. Everything is about love. It's a love story, no matter what. It don't matter how crazy it is or zany it
Dylan's
is.
wife tells any Dylan that she loves him, and then she says, "Sorry, like that was a mistake." But then when she sees the Audi version of Dylan, she doesn't say "I love you" when she's leaving to go to work like that. There's no way that was unintentional.
You clocked it. Hello. That girl's about to cheat. We gonna get to it. Let's not move too fast.
When they set up the room, I thought that's where we were immediately going because they were
All right,
like,
so you know
you
you
have
always
13
think people
minutes.
about
I
you
I
always
thought it was
shipping and
about to
sexing
happen.
folks.
I thought it was
We
about to
know.
happen.
We've been talking for years with TV shows. TJ, you gonna say, oh, they about to have sex.
I
They're
thought
about
it
to.
was a conjugal visit kind of situation. I'm not gonna lie.
Please, can we build up to that? Can you allow the show to build up to it? But let's talk about it though, for real. Like, we got an outline to stick to, but I have to say this now because you done touched on it. There is an experiential world that we live in, and there's a world that we've contextualized and understood through interactions and language and the narrative that we tell ourselves as like called perception. Like the common word is like your perception of your reality, right? Versus reality. And I think what's been very cool about Helena is that they've shot it so well that we can almost like for sure understand why she succeeds and rebels in this world and in the outer world, like why she's so powerful and so like aware in both worlds, because like you said, Teach, there are parts of you that remain, right? This, you're severed, you're not broken, you're not, you know, you're not a different person, you are a like variation of the self. And so I love Helena's character so much because she is who she is no matter what. But when she watches herself in the cameras, she realizes what she's missing. And I think the coolest thing about this show is that if you were to create another variation of yourself, because it's still you, what would that version of you get and experience that you wouldn't, that all your fears and your experiences and your understanding and your grief have inhibited or like prohibited or like limited in your life because you cannot be curious anymore. So basically the innies are like these very curious parts. And so Helena's like, I don't have that curiosity or experience or like, you know, just like history of like loving or liking someone. I want to experience that. And that's where things get a little tricky. I mean, we got, you know, we know what happened at the end of this episode. Because now I'm looking at my innie like, I want what my innie has. And I'm normal for that because it is me. It's just me in a different environment. And see how I can grow in this environment? I want to feel that. And that's why she's so awkward in all those scenes with Mark. Like she is so awkward. And I want to be very clear, Mark is a very awkward character. There's no non-awkward characters. Dylan is probably the least awkward character, and he's very awkward. Like he's a normal guy doing his job and like trying to like raise a family. He seems pretty normal. But like Mark is really weird. And to be in a room with Mark alone in a hallway and you are like the one that's kind of socially like, oh, what do I do? Or do we kiss? Or do you love me? Do you like me? Like what? I'm like, Helena, you are touch deprived. You've been up under your daddy this whole time. I already know it's you. Helly would be, Helly is not inhibited by all this other stuff that Helena is. Helly would be like, Mark, why is you all in my face? Are you finna kiss me? Yes or no? Helly, you know what I'm saying, Teach? Am I making sense? Like,
Yeah,
Helly
that
not
makes
with all of that. So let's go on, but that Helly's one of my favorite. Chocolate Graham, do you want to say anything about Helly before we go? Because we haven't seen Helly. Let me be clear. Helena.
Now, I didn't catch that it was Helena in the actual building, so I'm definitely due for a season two rewatch.
Oh, really? I don't. Teach, what was the first
they
giveaway?
haven't. Well, the whole everything has been a giveaway since we first saw
What was the
like the
first
whole.
one?
The first one was when she first encounters Mark, when she first gets off the elevator, when she first gets in there. And I guess the first one that we saw was her interaction with Mark, but the first one and the chronologically in the show would be from season two when you hear the dings in the elevator for Dylan and for Irv, but then you don't hear the ding when she goes into the elevator. So that would be the moment where you realize Helena has put her Audi in there to be, on a covert mission.
And I'm so glad we can talk about it because now I know I can't be gaslit. Because if reintegration can happen, then we know the daughter or granddaughter of Kier can do reintegration and probably much more effectively and seamlessly. So we know, girl, we know what's going on. We know that you're not our girl Helly R and the R is for Rebel. So who's the next character?
And don't forget that she put her hand on Herb's shoulder in this episode and was like,
We've got you.
we've got you," which felt like a corporate slogan. Like, come on, bro.
That's corporate Kier Egan speak. We've got you. That was literally said in season one of this episode, or episode one of this season, and it was said many, many times. The "we are listening," "we've got you," we like Helena. Helena, get away from my innies quickly. Who's next? TG.
Oh, hold on, I gotta look at the thing. Who is next? Is we can talk about Irv.
Okay, we can talk about my boy Irv. Good, 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 because I love Irv. I don't know what y'all's favorite scene was. I need to hear your favorite scene, Tej and Chocolate Graham, from this episode. My favorite scene is not any that anyone would think. Seeing Irv laugh with that black woman on that department floor made
Felicia.
me, Felicia, thank you. It made me so happy. I was like, oh my gosh.
I love that actress. She is so fun.
Oh, I love that scene. I agree. I love that scene so much. Irv has been so sad. He's like the embodiment of my wife left me, but my husband left me. He's so sad. And I just loved seeing him laugh. He's so pure and has the most seniority and he knows the most about Lumen. I want to be very clear. Irv is not fooled by none of this shit. He is the only character so far that has been able to successfully communicate through his dreams. And he remembers them. There's no like hesitation when he's like, "Man, I got to find out what my Audi dreaming about." He's not like, "I feel something weird." No, he clocked it. He's like, "Okay, I'm communicating with my Audi through these like astral projections, and like I know he's not doing that, but like he could get to that point, right, where there's like astral projection or like inception or like dreamception or whatever. Like it's very much Irv is the most powerful, and I think that matters because he's probably, it hasn't been said, but he's probably been the one that's been there the longest for Lumen. And so because grief can be so like debilitating, and like you can try to find so much of yourself and so much of your consciousness when you spend so much time alone and grieving, I think he's tapped into something so deep in himself that like his outing and his innie are like, all right, we're gonna paint, we're gonna go to sleep, we're gonna paint this, we're gonna go talk to this person, okay, we're gonna figure this out on our own. Whereas Mark's innie is like begging him. Mark's innie is begging outie Mark to like pay attention. Helena and Helena not listening to it. Dylan has no clue what his outie is doing. Like he had to be taken somewhere else from Mr. Milchick to like even have an idea of what outie Dylan is doing. Does that make sense? So like, I love Irv. What do you think, Teach?
Yeah, it was very cool to see him have that moment with Felicia. Also, Felicia gave us um, the tea on the what is it called
Exports Hall.
the exports hall, which is
Period.
obviously the hall that he's been drawing. And as soon as he pulled out the book where he was going to show her the drawings of Bert, I just knew that she was going to see that. And the look on her face when she switches the page and sees, she goes from like over the moon,
Happy.
happy to be to like completely shook. So whatever is happening in that hall is some crazy shit. And she said, we used to do deliveries down there, but now we don't do that anymore. So I can't wait to hear more about the exports hall.
What's your theory about the Exports Hall?
I don't even have one.
Really?
I was been trying to think about what it could be, and my brain won't take me anywhere.
I'm gonna tell you what I think. I think the Exports Hall, because she was very clear. We used to be able to go down there. Now we can't no more. All that means in the corporate world, if they allow people to do something and then they took it away later, that means someone found something out or was able to do something that they thought they could control. So that means somebody either literally got out or somebody sent something out and compromised whatever product bottom line profit that Lumon had. And so because they're, a conscionable kind of like, they think they're a good, company, they probably didn't like further sever anybody in that department that had access to the exports hall, right? But they had to like, shut it off and make it an elevator and add this really dark, fucked up hallway. But the fact that Irv remembers that, don't you think that maybe he was doing that at one time? Did you think about that, Tej? Why does he know? Because he's been on macro data refinement. That means that he might not have always been on macro data refinement.
Yeah, well, it's obvious that he has some knowledge of it, which could mean that his Audi had some knowledge of it, like before he became severed. I'm very interested to see how they tie that in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I like that. The exports hall, that's like your standard symbolism, long dark hallway, light at the end of the tunnel. Like that's that's big on Lumen. And what are we exporting? The other thing that I realized with this episode, and we can go to the next character, Tej, is that Lumen lies so much that it lies interdepartmentally. So like this department feels as though this department does this and is guilty of this, and then they tell the other department that no, it's that department that be doing that. And so it sows this like very easy discord be through the floors or through the hallways or through the departments, right? Mammalians, nature, whatever the exports area is, macro data refinement, the severed floor, the unsevered floor, like they lie to everyone because like y'all are never interacting. So I'm gonna tell Tej that Chocolate Graham did this, and I'm gonna tell Chocolate Graham that Sprite did this, and I'm gonna tell Sprite that I'm the one that helped them. And now y'all, if y'all encounter each other, I've already created enough discord that you don't have any information to challenge on, and y'all are gonna have to work through that. And that's such a big theme in Severance and why it works so well. And it was really prominent in season 1, but it's bubbling back up in season 2 as well. So who are we talking about next? Oh, go ahead, Chocolate Graham. Did you want to go ahead and speak? We can't hear you, but hello? Can anyone hear me? Tej, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. We can't hear him.
We can't hear him. Okay. Tej, can you go to the next character?
Next is Dylan.
Ah, take us away, Mr. Conjugal Visit. What's going on, Tej, with Dylan?
Well, he, like I said before, he got to have a visit with his family, so he kind of told everyone that he wanted to stay behind and do work while they were on their missions, and he gets to meet with his wife. It's he's very awkward about the meeting with his wife, and I guess his wife is kind of awkward too. It's also very awkward that Miss Huang is literally listening to them.
And
He
watching.
and watching. And he also asked her again why she was a kid, which I thought was funny. And then when they're in the room, he's talking to his wife about his Audi and kind of he thinks his Audi is kind of a fuck up, and she's like, "Well, he's not really a fuck up," but it's clear that she has some level of frustrations with that, and we saw that when she's in the scene with the Audi, and then she's basically telling him everything he's got to do while she's gone because she's about to go to work, like because she's the one paying the bills basically.
Mm,
But it was it's a very awkward conversation and had to be a very incredibly difficult scene to film just because
right.
she's seeing somebody who's the most familiar to her of anyone in the world in terms of her literal husband, but he has no idea who she is. And so just hearing about his family, but it just shows his sense of longing that he wants to have a family. He wants to belong to this family, but there was no real physical chemistry between them, despite what I thought was going to happen. But I think we're headed down that road for sure.
Oh, for sure. Um, this scene solidified that I would get severed. We asked this last time. We asked the whole room, mad people. and we got our answers, but it solidified that I would get severed. Maybe I'm a little crazy, but Dylan is the better version of his Audi. And the only reason I say, I don't even say that during the visit. I have no idea why your cheating ass, you a cheater. You sound like a cheater, Gretchen, okay? Why did you come home and before you leave for work, I asked you how today was? Because you met someone else. It was me, but it was someone else because our memories are split. And you say, huh? What? What are you talking about? Excuse me? I've been working at this company for years. You have never been able to visit me at work. You got to visit me at work today and you gonna hump me? I'll beat your ass. Huh? You did a huge thing today. Don't hump me. You know exactly what I'm talking about. I was like, nah, bro. Gretchen already. Dylan has so much riz. Are you kidding? She already lying to her husband about her husband. Gretchen, you know what I'm talking about, Gretchen. Oh, the visit. Yeah, it was cool. Weird, but cool. It was good. Yeah, we know what weird good means. Weird good means you met somebody you liked and it just happens to be your husband because duh. But like that version is hopeful and interested and wondrous. And again, it's that uninhibited, like, like without all the extra bullshit that y'all have gone through having raised 3 kids. And, he's a bit of a fuck up. It's this show, if people are watching the first season and they don't make it to this season, I feel so bad for them. It is so cool. We are watching the concept of, would you cheat on your husband with your husband? Would you cheat on your wife with your wife? We joke about this all the time. Oh, change your hair, or oh, you're a different person at work, or oh, we're gonna role play tonight. No, no, no. Literally, I severed my husband 3 times. I want all 3 versions of my husband. I want this one that's raised in this one. I want this hard worker, and this one at home getting on my nerves. So I got 2 other options. What are we talking about, Teach? Isn't this great? Gretchen is finna get hers, honey. Them 18-minute visits where they just chit-chatting are going to turn into those conjugal visits, TJ. They're going to turn into those conjugal visits, and Miss Hwang gonna be in there and be like, y'all have an hour and 37 minutes today. Y'all have fun. That's what's gonna be, TJ. What do you think?
I don't think they're gonna get more time, and I think it's gonna be real funny because, like Audi Dylan might like different things like in that space than any Dylan, and so I think it's gonna be hilarious and also
You don't
very
think they're
weird.
gonna get more time?
No, I don't think so, and I don't, and also if Miss Wang is a kid, then y'all really need to not have sex in front of her. So we need to establish first that she is not an actual child.
So you don't think that you don't think the 18 minutes that based on merit, because it was a merit based 18 minutes. She said
It's
it.
funnier if they have less time and they have to try to accomplish this thing in a small amount of time. It makes it funnier.
Oh, okay, so you're attached to the comedy section of it. Chocolate Graham, what do you think about Dylan? Dylan's my guy.
Can you guys hear me
Kenny
now?
Dylan.
Yeah, we hear
Oh, thank God. Okay, first of all, Dylan is a loser.
Okay,
Just gotta say
all right.
that for the record.
Okay.
Any and Audi Dylan, but I'm ooh, I don't know
Okay.
how it feels right saying this, but I hope they try and have sex. Just because, like, get it in. He might be the first severed person ever to do so. But I think his wife is able to see him differently because the any Dylan doesn't have all that like baggage of history with her, like the outward Dylan is. Like, obviously, he's sitting on the couch, like maybe a little like a slob, as she's trying to like go to work and make sure the kids are good. And so I don't think she brought that view of him into Lumen when she got to meet with him. And so she's able to see him in a pure light, is what I was thinking.
For sure. Can I also, and Tej, I would love to hear your perspective. Can we center Gretchen for a second? It must be very nice. I mean this seriously. It must be very nice. Like, think about your last committed relationship. And if it's you're still in it, congrats. But if you're out of it, right? Think about why it ended and the things that it led to the end of it. And then imagine that that person forgot. and you could just like do it over with the person. So I'm centering Gretchen to say it's not only how she sees her, she knows that this any Dylan does not have any resentment towards her, right? Like she obviously like they did just such a great job of acting, right? Because at first you don't know, you go into the situation, you don't know who the heck you're meeting. You know you're meeting your husband, but it's not your husband. And then she saw this like wonder, and you call my guy a loser, chill out on my guy. But like you saw this like wondrous sweet guy, and yeah, he's kind of dumb, because effectively, you know more than him, you're not a severed person. But now you're like, you realize for this moment that, oh, this is still my husband, but he doesn't remember all of the fucked up things I've done to him either. He doesn't have the resentment of me going to work. So I just get to like experience this guy like I just met him for the first time. And I can just like create all the good stuff and avoid all the bad stuff. Tej, what do you think? Like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think it's just a very fascinating uh development in terms of how the Ennie's relationship is going to relate to his Audie's wife. That's going to be good. I mean, that's just ripe. I hope they keep that playing all season. Like I can't wait to see more.
There's it's obvious, right? We don't know how long Lumen been around. We don't even know if Lumen is, like, Lumen might also be the simulation. There's like a third iteration. I'm telling you, that's what I'm going to think, because it's too much going on. It's not enough real stuff going on. But if Lumen is trying to do this now, they've already done a huge risk analysis on never doing this before. Like, I'm pretty sure Dylan would make history as the first one to have sex, and that's because he's the first one to ever get to interact with his Audi family at work. That is like completely against what Lumen is trying to do. So Mr. Milchick getting that for him, we don't know if that's true. I don't believe Mr. Milchick, but Mr. Milchick getting that for him, to me, there's no way this goes well, because Lumen has already planned that this is not a thing that innies get. And now that one innie is getting it, I'm like, oh, it's going to go to shit immediately. The fact that y'all haven't done it for many years is going to be revealed to you so quickly. So who's the next character we're talking about? I think we got a couple more, right? Teach.
Well, this is the last one, but we haven't talked about. We got to talk about Mark's the scene with Mark and Helena, and we also got to talk about the scene with Helena and Miss Kobelvig at the end. But those are the
And
last,
with Mark and Ragabi.
and with Mark and Regabi. So we should do Helena, and then we should do Mark, or vice versa.
Okay, so Mark and Helena, I feel like we talked about it,
We
but
didn't really talk about the sheep people literally at all.
oh no, we didn't. We didn't talk about our Brienne of Tarth at all. First of
Yeah, we
all,
didn't.
Ben Stiller liked my tweet of, I said, explain yourself, bro, with the goats, because Robert Eggers said that he will never work with a goat again, and it was hilarious. And I was like, Ben Stiller, why do you have 17 goats on set? Explain yourself. You're a sicko. Mammalian's nurturable. That's our 2-word phrase. Tej, your name is Shambolic Rube. I don't know if you're updating it every week. Mammalian's nurturable. Nurturable. Insane. Okay. You want to know how quickly I would quit Severed? As soon as I heard one of the department names, like one of the other department names, macro data refinement, I can rock with. But the other ones, I'm like, huh? Mammalian's nurturable? Nah, get me out of here, bro. I'm not. This is not the company I worked for, bro. And them people going home smelling crazy. They're going home smelling crazy. So again, you can't divorce yourself from this. So what are you telling me? Where am I working? Am I working at a petting zoo? Tell me I'm working at a petting zoo. What is my pay? Like, what am I doing that I come home smelling so crazy every day? You're not sending me home like that. Them people look that dirty and that crazy because they don't be going home every day. They got different kind of shifts. We think 9 to 5. This is not just 9 to 5. They probably got like on and off 3, whatever the shifts are. Y'all know better than me, but like 12-hour shift for 3 days straight. I don't know,
Maybe
because
they make them shower before they go back out as their Audis.
you make them shower.
Yeah, if you're the Audi, that's what you would want, right? You don't want to be all stank when getting off.
Yeah, that's just so crazy. They smell crazy. Or maybe they provide showers. I need to see the showers. I ain't seen the shower yet. I saw the wellness room. I saw the exports hall. I saw everything else. I ain't seen no showers, but we don't know. So let's talk about the scene. So Mark and Helena went to Mammalian's Nurturable and met Brienne of Tarth, our girl, Game of Thrones, and she just bodied that entire role. Teach, talk to us a little bit about, because you listened to an interview with her. What kind of things stuck out?
Yeah, I listened to her on the Severance podcast. She was great. She kind of talked about how she got the role. Obviously, they loved her from her performance in Game of Thrones, and she was really, really obsessed with the show. But from the first season, they didn't have a role for her. So as she was watching season one, she was very jealous. But then she got the call, and they didn't think they were going to be able to get her. And she was like, "What are you talking about? This is my favorite show on TV." So
That's so
I just
cute.
thought it was always nice. It was obviously nice to get her to show up. But in the scene, obviously, Mark is looking for Miss Casey, and he has like a missing poster that he drew of Miss Casey, and so they're looking for Miss Casey. There's like a weird tenseness where the all the you realize all the people that are there and they're surrounded, and Helena is like, "Oh shit! Like, what did I get myself into?" But I don't know if she was putting on an act because she probably knows much more about these people than Mark did. But Mark stands up to them and basically says, if they can do this to Miss Casey, they can do that to any of y'all. And so they finally get a little bit of information about Miss Casey that she had been down at Mammalia's Nurturable. But then when they're leaving, the mammalians or the people down there want to see uh, their tummies because they think that they have pouches. So it
Pouches.
just goes back to, I'm glad they kind of dip back into like the lies that the other departments think about the other departments and these things that are like drive walls between them. I think that is just one, it's obviously very funny, but also two, indicative of Lumen just not wanting these people to communicate whatsoever, so that nobody has every piece of whatever the fuck they're doing, which
Yes.
obviously serves as a very, very good writing tool for the show to be able to hide what's actually happening. Because I don't know what the fuck they're doing with those sheep
Oh yeah, over there in finance,
or goats.
they
Sorry, I keep saying sheep goats.
yeah, over there in finance, they got pouches, bro. So we don't, but it's also not, they're not telling each other things like that matter in the workplace. They like really want people to feel superior or feel very different, right? Like the conformity doesn't work. The unity doesn't work for Lumen. Whatever Lumen is really doing, everybody needs to stay in their silos and do their jobs so we can all process the data and whatever ourselves. We can't have y'all trying to figure stuff out. And that's why this one of my favorite things about this show is that Helena can go and let Mark, roam a different department. But she's always kind of there to where like if she needs to redirect Mark, she can. Like there's this like, false sense of control and trust that Mark has because he's like, see, yeah, I'm making progress. But we know Helena's there, and Helena's not going to really allow much progress because even if something does happen that slips out, she's going to be like, hey, today Mark found out that we lied about the pouches. So y'all want to figure out something to do that? All right, cool. Like just letting y'all know that Mark knows, or like whatever. Like Mammalians Nurturable knows that macrodata refinement don't have kangaroo pouches bellies. Like y'all do with that. If like you know what I'm saying? Like she has like there's this overarching like actually you have no control. A hall pass, you can have your hall pass. You're not going nowhere. And if you do get somewhere, we've set up our barriers in place and we've set up our boundaries to where we can limit everything you learn. Trevon, what do you think about the Mammalians Nurturable scene? Welcome to the stage. Welcome to What We Watch.
Hello, hello, welcome. I'm a little sick, so I sound crazy, but that was my favorite scene so far in this season
Yeah,
because it's the one that got my mind churning the most. So I'm not gonna tell you all the kookamany things I thought, but the two biggest ones.
yeah.
I don't think Helena knows everything about Lumen, and I think she didn't know about the goats. And it could just be great acting, but I definitely thought that was her first time seeing the goats, and I think throughout
Okay.
this season she may be radicalized. I think she may, I think she's gonna
Oh,
learn a lot about what Lumen actually is because she's a face and she's the daughter, but I don't think she knows
She's not really
everything.
tapped in.
Like she may know like the base of it, the money line, but it's a family business. But I don't think she knows everything. And then the second thing I think one of the biggest scenes to me this year or the season was when Dylan got fired and he was like, what about like health benefits and blah blah. So it allowed me to believe like what person would get severed. And I think poor people can get severed. And then when we go to like the mammal one and we look, they look dirty. Like, are they homeless? Because that's an easy way to get free work, is to get homeless people and sever them that don't have opportunity. So I'm
Oh my
definitely
gosh, you're
Wow.
interested
brilliant.
to
You're
see that.
brilliant.
Because when you see the parking lot, you don't see no Mercedes and Lexuses in that parking lot. Like you
That's what
don't
I'm
see
saying.
like a tech company like type stuff. Like
Yeah, you came in a little later, but I was talking about that. I was like, the uniformity in that parking lot and really everywhere in this world, whatever this world is, like it's too dry. It's too there's this too much sameness, and it's like not a really clear year and like time period or advancement of time. And you just brought up a very good point. Homelessness or poverty almost kind of requires that kind of like, well, time doesn't isn't really real to me because I don't like work towards a thing. I don't have a schedule per se, right? Like they're trying to maybe like examine like, okay, if I hire people that don't have, good lives or good jobs or whatever, again, I'm speaking just contextually in the sense of severance, like, oh, okay. It doesn't matter if you smell bad. Because I don't know if you heard me say, I was like, are they going home smelling crazy? But that assumes they have a home
yeah, and assume they're allowed to go to it. Like if
and
this
assumes
place
they're
is
allowed to
giving
go
you
to it.
cut beans out the vending machine and waffles, maybe you don't go home back to the streets and you just work. You know.
And you would never know because that's what you did. You chose to be severed. Interesting. I like that. The Helena theory works. Um, that's probably the most fun way they could do this. But I could see how they could try to gaslight me because by the time Helena's radicalized, I'm like already just tired of knowing that it was Helena this whole time. But now she's radicalized, so she is Helly, and there's reintegration. So let's talk about the reintegration scene before we wrap up. Teach. It felt a little fast paced to me. That's not a shot. It was fast. I was like, he's she got better like within season 1 and season 2, and we're doing it right now. He's reintegrated.
Well,
Okay.
we don't know whether
We don't know.
we think it was successful, but we saw last season with his best friend, I forgot his name, the way that he
Petey.
Petey.
had PD, he had weird experiences and ultimately died. So I think that
Okay.
even though we did see Mark get reintegrated, there's still going to be issues and problems that he experiences
Of
and just trying to
course.
figure it out.
But I was still shocked that we did it. Like I thought we were gonna have an end on like a very significant like issue with Ragabi, because right now we can assume that Ragabi was successful, but also as you say successful, we have to define it.
They're gonna kill Regavi. I think Regavi's not surviving this season.
No,
See,
not
running
not
around
Ragabi out of
doing
here.
reintegrations once, and Miss, you remember Miss Cobell wants to talk to Helena about some of her theories about reintegration too. So and remember also that Miss Kobelvig still has PD's severance chip. So they Miss Regavi is not long for this world. They gonna kill her. We can't have her running
Oh
around reintegrating people. And she's black. She definitely gonna die. She's gone.
no! Oh no! I mean,
She's out of here.
probably, but oh no! I mean, you know what? As you've been talking, Miss Kobelvig, she might be Tom Wamsgans in this.
Well, she shook. I never thought that she would be shook, but she was shook at the end of the episode. She was shook.
She might be Tom's Wamsgans. You know what I mean by that. For all my real Succession lovers. Trevon, what do you think about the reintegration scene? Again, I feel like we have to define what successful is. And that's really theoretical because we haven't seen episode 4 yet. But what does a successful reintegration look like? Like, obviously, we're going to go through issues. The show can't just, like, all of a sudden Mark solves everything. What do you think about the reintegration, Trevon?
I mean, like you said, it was short, so like it got me hyped, but I don't think I have too much on it. I'm interested to see where it goes because
Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing much of PD pre-integration. So he was so like I just have my image of him as so kind of like kooky, and my image of Mark is so straight, like bland and vanilla. So I'm like interested to see what this does to him if he does like lose his fucking mind because it seems like reintegration. Like, don't tell me like someone died from something. You're like, no, but I'm better now. Like that doesn't make me feel like I want to see other success stories.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, no, you didn't.
Yeah,
No, you didn't
like
get
how you
it.
better now if there's no other person
What
that
are
I
the
can
test
like.
subjects? What?
Yeah. So I don't know, but I mean I'm excited. I'm excited to see where it goes. I think I'm excited they did this early because this is something like
Yeah,
most shows do it like a season 2 finale, which would have pissed me off. So
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's fast paced, just like in multiple areas. But like, obviously, it's not fast paced in that we're divorcing ourselves from things that can happen in the show. Like, so much is going to happen.
yeah.
Aristotle, what do you think about this reintegration and the success of a reintegration? What that looks like for the next few episodes?
Yeah, I'm kind of like with everyone else. I'm just really curious, like, how that's gonna play out, or even like the next episode. Like, is it like a flashback to him seeing everything that his innie has been doing and seeing, and like, but I don't know. I mean, to be honest, this whole episode has like been like a whole mind thing for me. Like, I'm still just trying to wrap my mind around like what exactly is going on. And it doesn't help. Yeah.
Hi, Sam.
Yeah.
Sam.
But it doesn't help with all the jargon and stuff. Like you like even hearing like I came in late, but hearing you guys say the name of like the goat herding
Mammalian
room.
searchable.
Yeah, like I'm just it just makes me think about work because it's like all I hear all day is just jargon that you have no idea what the hell it is, and then even with your coworkers or peers, you have no idea what they do. But yeah,
Yeah, you got to
just
get the ERT with the FCO today. All right, make sure that you. Yeah.
right.
Okay, I will. Thank you so much. Um, for me, the reintegration scene is really cool because to me, TJ, success is the two lines coming together. But, so that's what's successful and that's what felt kind of fast to me. But, what we're about to see is a reintegration specifically of memories, right? Because TJ, I think you hit it perfectly when you said, I didn't forget, my Audi knows how to drive, right? But does my innie like have the ability to drive? Like what what is specifically being severed? And what they say is your memories are severed. So that's why I think we got the little montage and flashbacks and really like crazy, wacky scenes of Mark's memories melding, right? And I think we've seen that in other film and television shows before, and tweet them out and hashtag what we watch, where someone is like, now that their narration of their life is not reliable anymore because memories are like a little bit clouded and mixed up together, or someone was gaslit to a point where they're like, don't remember a thing properly. Um, and so I think that's what's most exciting to me about this show is like now that we've introduced reintegration, we can see how messy it gets. Because like to your point, Trevon, we've seen Petey, but we didn't see Petey go from severed to reintegrated. We just saw Petey reintegrated, whatever that meant at the time, and we were like, "Yo, this boy's crazy." And then he died. This boy's crazy. He's trying to help Mark. He's dead. But now we're like, "Oh, we've gone on the journey with Innie Mark and we've gone on the journey with Audi Mark, and we're about to see who you are when we reintegrate your memories." And Tej, what do you think, like from a consciousness, like very philosophical level, what do you think the risk of like reintegrating memories actually is? Like, is it a lack of trust in self? Is it really just wonky behavior? Is it like a physical manifestation of
I
like,
think it. I think it's affecting your alterations of what is reality, and I think that we saw that with PD. You don't know what is real and what is not, and I think that that is going to lead Mark to some very very strange. Like imagine if Audi Mark. Like is as weird as it must have been to stumble in a place like Mammalia's nurturable for Audi for any Mark. Imagine if that was something that Audi Mark happened upon. Like he wouldn't even know how to process that. So I think that that's kind of what's real, what's not is going to be at play. And also, if somebody is unsevered now, like can they even get down to the severed floor? We think that we know the answer would be yes because Helena is down there. But what if Helena isn't actually reintegrated? They just haven't switched her back over. Like, right? Like, we don't know whether we know that there's a chance that Helena could be reintegrated, but we don't know that for sure. Can Mark even get down to the floor if he actually is no longer severed? Can you even access the severed floor? We know that there are people do work down in the severed floor that are not severed. For example, Mr. Milchick.
But you
But
can't
I
get
just
there.
yeah,
But
but I
what's
want
the
to know
entrance? Yeah.
what does that look like? And so that's something I was thinking about a lot once I realized, oh shit, he's reintegrated now. How do we do that? How what are we I think for the show's purposes, he's gonna be able to access it and he's gonna be
Maybe.
playing his any version of himself, just like Helena. And we're gonna get some really weird teens because any Audi Helena, like Helena and Mark's Audi, don't have any chemistry. They don't know each other at all. So it's gonna be very awkward. And I'm looking forward to seeing that if we get it.
Helena gonna clock that quick too. It's interesting. So I think you just presented the specific question, if I may. Like, is reintegration actually going to be processed as you are unsevered or you are severed? Are there three: severed, unsevered, reintegrated, or is reintegration literally unsevered? Are those two the same thing?
Good question. I don't know.
Basically that's the question you're asking. And I think if I get deep into my bag, because I had an hour and a half conversation about this show, if it was in real life and what Lumen, like the idea that what Lumen is trying to do, it's very obvious what Lumen is trying to do. Tej already called it on. Everybody's kind of driven by love or the loss of it or whatever, right? And so Lumen is trying to solve, to, in my opinion, like happiness and like processing grief. And it's like, I can't take it away from you entirely, but everything that exists in your world is narrated and perceived by you. And there is an experiential or like real reality, even in like what we're talking about right now. My life is only what I understand it as because of what I remember and what I experience and how I choose to do things moving forward. But if someone else were watching me, they might describe my life differently. And who's right? Is it me, the one that experienced it and did it and processed all my memories over time? Or is it the person that just sat there and watched me the whole time, right? They don't know my motivations and intentions, but I also don't know like how the world was operating around me. And so Severance challenges like this idea of which levels and layers of consciousness are you're operating at when you are at work versus when you're doing something that you love. Has anyone ever asked you like, hey, how did you like get to play like this on the piano? Or how did you get to like draw like this in this weird way hanging upside down? Or how did you like write this amazing movie? Like how did you, and a lot of times artists are like, I just did. Like I can't really tell you what. And I think Lumen is like examining that part. Like, what is that part that of a human consciousness that we can't really understand? And is that where a lot of our suffering is? And if I can just take that little piece out of your brain that is always trying to solve and usually ends up in suffering, if I can just make your other version experience that over time, right? This is going to take a long time. That's why people have these jobs for a while. Then we can make the world a happier place. And the reason why I think that's my theory is because Lumen, every time we zoom out and talk about Lumen, Lumen never really thinks that they're doing anything bad. And if they are thought to do something bad, they try to do something good in response. Here I've given you pineapple ice cream, pineapple bobbing, pineapple fruits with mammalians nurturable. Like, we're good. Like, we're trying to do something good. We believe in this. Like, a lot of people that aren't severed are looking at our product and they're like, yeah, this is great. And so if you think that you are solving for grief or taking people away from grief, that sounds like a good thing. But if you've lived enough of life, you know that grief is a part of life and it informs your joy. So that's what I think is happening. And I think season 2 is going to run us into it much quicker. TJ, what do you think about my theory? I know it was very long winded, but it's levels to this shit. What do you think about my theory? TJ? Trevon, what do you think about my theory? Hello? Hello? Go ahead, Chocolate Graham.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
I think the board members and execs at Lumen
Mm-hmm.
they know that, or completely understand why people hate them from the outside, but
Mm,
they think that what they're doing is best.
yeah,
And so they can say, oh yeah, we're putting these people in cages or whatever.
but yeah,
But they see it as, well, we can go the extra mile or cross these lines because we are the rightful people to move, society,
humanity
civilization
forward.
forward, right? And to then justify all the terrible stuff they do.
Yeah, like in order to evolve, we're gonna have to like kill a part of y'all because there's this ego suffering part of y'all that keeps prohibiting and inhibiting y'all from growing as a society. Trevon, what do you think about the theory?
Sorry, I kind of went in and out. I have bad service, but I think just in general, I think that's right. I think it's very, if you look at like cults and just things of that nature, it's just like, yeah, like this is a greater good, And I think when the people in power are saying the greater good goes through the means of the people below it, like it's always like, I don't even want to call it a slippery slope. It's just oppression. It's just like it's not really.
Quite frankly, yeah, let's call it what it is.
Yeah. So it's like I think that's kind of how I agree in that sense. Like it's just I don't think they are evil.
Yeah, I think also like if you sign the paper, right, to get severed, how can I possibly be bad? We are speaking to you in a conscionable, understanding, aware state, or maybe we're not.
And it's also if you want to kind of compare it to like a Squid Game, like they came back.
Yeah,
So it's like, oh, like just I'm not exploiting you. Like you're signing up for this and you're experiencing it and signing back up. Like,
yeah.
oh, cool.
How could I be a terrible person? You had a choice. Teach, what do you think? Does Lumen believe they are good, and are we gonna like explore that later?
No, no, I don't think that. I think Lumen is very well aware that they're bad, and I think once it's finally revealed what they're trying to do, it'll be like, oh, well, they're just evil as shit. I think that's where we're going.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. That was season 2, episode 3. We really got into it. I love this show because it's really challenging, like what reality is versus like what another version of you would do, and it just really takes you on like a really fun, imaginative journey. Which is why I ask, like, would you be severed? A lot of you said no. A lot of you said yes. But this has been what we watch. Thank you so much. Check me out on Slice of Horror on YouTube. And also, of course, Miss Peacherino presents What We Watch. Please subscribe. And if you have anything else to say before we watch the next episode next week, after the Super Bowl comes out, who says that? After the Super Bowl happens, I'm very excited. Let me know and hashtag what we watch. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Bye.